Before we jump into the HUD reports, let's quickly review in a specific case, what are the things you need to check while you're working on a case with respect to HUD reporting. As you see on the screen, we have a prospect lead case. We scroll down, we see, let's go ahead and click on, okay. So we have the check HUD submission data. So while we are working on a case, it's good to make sure that what are all the fields that are still blank or needed for your HUD reporting and which we have not entered yet. As we see here, the missing data fields lets us know that we have still not entered the user time log on this case, activity of user time log as well. So we need to make sure we need to enter those. As a HUD validation, we also suggest few things that you need to keep in mind while entering the data fields. Like user time log date is not within the current physical year. Activity type should be one of the following values to be considered within the HUD reporting. Uh, if we have not selected a NOFA guarantor for the current fiscal year, and also selecting the returning client HUD outcome for the application. While we are also entering the data throughout the application, we do see that there are HUD labeled fields. As we see here, preferred language, which is a HUD labeled field, meaning that these data will be pulled in your HUD9902s. So make sure while entering the application, we have these HUD label fields entered and saved, even if they are not mandatory. Let's exit out of this application and now jump into the HUD reporting process. There are 4 steps for the HUD reporting. The first step is the agency profile submission. To do that, you need to have access to the proper roles and privileges to have access to this. If you do not see any of the things that we are talking about during this process, please check with your system administrator to assign those privileges to you. So under the admin tab, let's go ahead and click on the agency information. In the agency information page, we need to make sure all the data is entered accurately, especially the one marked with the red asterisks. Make sure you have the HUD branch ID accurately listed here for your agency. Okay. So once we have all the information entered, we'll go ahead and click on Save. Once the data is saved, we will now click on Submit Agency HUD Details. As we see here, we have been missing a UEI number, so we need to enter that for us to proceed further. Once you have entered the HUD UEI ID, we'll go ahead and click on Submit Agency HUD Details, and that would offer you a pop-up screen where you need to enter the physical year and then your HUD ID and password. Keep in mind that this was not your RX Office login credentials. These are your HUD provided login ID and password. That's what you need to be entering for the HUD submission. Once you have done submitting the HUD agency profile, you can click on the Verify Agency Profile to verify if your HUD agency profile is successful or not. On this screen, we can enter the HUD login ID and password, click on submit, and you should get that should provide you a status that there is no errors and it went through successfully. So submitting your agency profile is the first step. The second is your counselor profile submission. To do that, under your admin tab, click on user list. And as a counselor, pick and choose your list here and click on submit. Uh, Under the HUD counselor submission, we'll go ahead and click on submit. Before you make the submission, make sure that you have entered the user profile accurately, especially your counselor HUD ID. So to do the submission, we'll go ahead and choose the physical year, enter the HUD login ID and password, and click on submit. Once you have made that submission, you will see the verify counselor submission column where you could click on the icon, enter your HUD login ID and password, and verify if the submission went through successfully or not. So this was your second step in HUD submission. The next step is your HUD9902 and client profile reporting. To do that, under the report section, we'll go ahead and click on special reports. And here, under the summary key, we will first need to select HUD9902 report, select the quarter, the outcome from date and to date is selected. We'll go ahead and click on generate. Once the report is generated, it would be in the second tab, which is the history tab. Here, the HUD9902 that you have just generated would be listed. There you could click on submit HUD9902 icon and enter your HUD login ID, the physical year, HUD login ID and password, and click submit. Once that's done and you have no errors there, click here to verify submission column will have an icon that you need to click and enter your HUD credentials to verify if that submission went through successfully. The second one is the client profile report. To do that, we'll go ahead and click on client profile. You can choose the quarter from the drop down. Outcome from date and to date is now auto populated. We'll go ahead and click on generate. And after a couple of seconds, that would be listed in the history tab where you could follow the same process of submitting it to HUD and then verifying if the submission went through successfully. So these are your 4 steps in your HUD submission process. And we have few additional reports that support this process and makes the counselor's submission more easier. To review those reports, let's go to the reports, click on executive summary reports. There we have these supporting reports. For instance, HUD verification report, HUD educational clients verification report, and the HUD counseling client verification report. So these 3 reports provide all the data for that reporting quarter or fiscal year, and lets you know if there are any missing information in those reports. Let's go ahead and review one of these reports from my due date. On show report. I have a sample report here for our review. Once that report is downloaded, we can review that here by exporting it to a spreadsheet. And if we scroll over to the right, we have the missing column list here where we can remove the blanks and see that this specific case had the category of median income missing. So we can then review, go to that case, update that information on that client, and rerun the report to make sure there are no additional missing data. So coming back to the verification reports, so we have the supporting reports that helps you in completing your HUD reporting successfully. So you can make use of these reports during that process.